I want to take a moment to acknowledge the Shambra who've been crossing over to our side, back to their natural state. There's been quite a few of them lately, and I know some of you have asked about it. Why are they leaving? Right now, especially. Well, they're leaving for a lot of reasons. They just get to the point where they say, no more. They're done fighting the battle with a physical body, or they're just done. The point is, right now, with the coming of Heaven's Cross, there's a lot of intensity. It's all contingent on the level of consciousness on the planet, because the level of consciousness determines then the flows of energy that are coming in to the individual, but ultimately to the planet. The level of consciousness has to do with Gaia's departure. The more consciousness there is, the easier it is for her to clear out, for her to ascend, which she literally will do. So that has an effect, and therefore, you can almost imagine the energy, kind of a vortex, the suction that takes place. Gaia is leaving as consciousness increases. You got that kind of that jet stream, that suction behind with her leaving. That creates a void to be filled with consciousness, but also there's a lot of conflict in it. Humans are conflicted, and they're pointing the finger at whose fault the environment is. You've got the power vortex in Eastern Europe. You've got energy situations. We've talked about this ad nauseum. But my point is that now what happens is these all work together right now. They converge to bring this thing called Heaven's Cross. Now, Heaven's Cross, what is that? Up until now, there's been this, you call it the veil oftentimes, a veil separating the heavens. Earth is a heaven. It's a dimension. And that's my definition of heaven. It's a dimension. If it's a state of being, it's a state of grace, which is sometimes not so graceful. So you've got this situation now with that veil is starting to open. The cracks in it, so to speak, but not bad cracks, good cracks, openings in this veil that separated human from divine for so very long. As Heaven's Cross opens, it's a planetary event, but you're also opening that line of separation between you and your own divine. Because you're no longer looking out there and going within. It creates that opening for more ease of the divine coming in, more consciousness, more ease and grace with your own divinity existing together. It's a real game changer on the planet. It's occurring March 22nd. We're going to be here with Caldra, Linda, and the crew here in Kona doing a webcast for free, of course, and celebrating, honoring this beginning of the opening of Heaven's Cross. I want to talk for a moment here a little bit more about what's actually going on within you. I want to address the brain because it ties in more to the alt that we've been talking about. But you've got some terms that are used in society, and then I have my own version of them. There's a term, if you want to write it on the board.
Okay.
Neurotypical. What is that? Well, it's a label used to identify most people. Say most people are neurotypical, but they're not typical at all. There's nothing typical about somebody who's locked into a body and a brain. Now, you've got another label here that's recently been brought up, I believe, in the Shambra magazine. Neurodivergent. I don't really like that label because it's kind of saying you're special in a weird way. Well, what's happening in your divergency is there's something calling out from within you, your human/divine self calling out and saying, there's something wrong with neurotypical. I got to get out of this. I am not typical as in accepting being locked in the box. I am not going to accept that this human persona is typical. I'm going to I'm going to do something neurally different, and it's going to ultimately help me get out of the box faster. I give a new definition that has to do with what you're going through in your neurology right now, which is basically the communications in your body. Neural tunitis. You are retuning right now, and it's intensifying, particularly with Heaven's Gate. You're retuning your mind in particular. And I give it another name if you forget this word, neural tunitis. It's a name I made up. If you forget that, alt brain. 2 words, alt brain. The biggest thing you do is understand what's happening, that all the communications to all those nerves in your brain and your body are being redone, remodeled. You're doing it while you're staying in the physical body. Some of the ones who have crossed over recently simply just couldn't handle it anymore. It was too much for them to handle. And that's why so many have crossed over lately. There's a couple of things that you can do that actually make it a little easier. I'll give you the typical things: breathing and light exercise, and that. Eating the foods that your body is asking for, not that the brain is telling you should eat. That's very important right now. The foods that your body is asking to eat. In other words, the diets and everything else, forget about. But there's another one too. That's a reason why some of you might be experiencing more intense emotions and intense pain in your body. If you're doing something in your life right now that's not really your passion, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, no matter what it is, if you're doing something that's not your passion, in other words, you really don't want to be doing it, but you feel trapped that you need to continue doing it, that's going to cause a lot of extra stress. It's best right now, if you're not happy with these situations, make a change. It's so important because it's all intensifying right now, coming up to Heaven's Cross. Once that opening occurs, there will be, for so many Shambhara, there'll be almost like a flood of energies, divinity coming in. And while you jump up and down and say, well, that's great. But if you're kind of in that out of balance place and you're doing things that you know just aren't right for you, it'll really hit you. It eventually served you very well, but it could hit you hard at first. It's actually an amazing time to be here. Amazing time if you can deal with it, with all the weird things going on the earth, but also within yourself. It's truly an amazing time to be on this planet and to be right in the midst of all this happening right now.